And I want to go live on Facebook. It's not going live yet. I got to type a bunch of stuff, or not really a bunch, but
Okay, I'll get another swig of water because, you know, when I take a drink of water, it's huge. And I'm not going anywhere near as fast. Mind you, I drink a lot, probably at the pool.
this is going to be easy because it's just going to be us having an organic conversation. We've done so many other times, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I will lead off. I'll do the opening. I'll do the icebreaker type things, you know, to bring up and then pull you right in. Or I might have you say hi first. I don't know. We'll see what blows me. We'll see how the wind blows me, right?
Oh wait, that's the wrong song. I was looking from
I'm always looking
Sound of
for
Music, but
Control
that was a
V.
goodbye song, not a hello song.
This week on Mastering the Job, we are discussing, and I'm getting all these underlining things. You can check out what that does. Not the following link. I don't usually put it there, but okay. Are you ready?
Right.
Share to my page. Not that one. I've got seeds swimming around in my mouth. I did a live yesterday and it was the same thing. It was like, I saw the beginning of it. I'm making this ugly face. All righty. Your marks, get set, go.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery, where we have real life conversations with myself and other folks that have also sat in and walked through a recovery journey of some sort or the other. We all know that no two recovery journeys look alike. Not all of them are from chemical substances. Not all of them are from food. Not all of them are from shopping. Some are emotional. Some are anyway, right? We have all the things. We have all process. We have behavioral. We have chemical. We have all kinds of addictive pieces to our life. So everybody's journey is different. But the cool thing is we can all recover through the same fashion. And what I mean by that is that when we all take the time to learn the effective psychological skill sets and tactics that will allow us to shift more of our life, we can find the emotional intelligence that we need for our life specifically to create change, momentum, motivation, and ultimately life satisfaction. Because the goal is what? To experience living the way that we desire. And that fulfills us, and that brings us joy and peace and comfort, and all without relying on something outside of us to make that happen, because that isn't truly experiencing it, right? Those band-aids that we utilize are all false hope, right? The brownie, when we eat it, is only going to be comforting while it sits on our tongue. The minute we swallow it, for most of us, what happens after that? The self-loathing, the self-berating, all of the negative feelings and the physical feelings that happen with that also. When we overindulge, especially on food, is, ew, right? Like, ew, I feel gross. And so it really isn't a self-soothing tactic. Anyway, that's not our topic for today, so we won't go there. Our topic today is really so amazing and so wonderful, because it's all about how we can improve our experiences. So first, before I dive in, I want to introduce y'all to my friend Beth. Beth is here with us from Socks on the Dock. The link below says Tactile Tactics because that's where you can find her on the Turning Leaf platform. And she has some incredible ways, and she's going to share all about it. But first, Beth, say hello.
Hello.
I
didn't bring any brownies. Sorry.
No brownies?
No brownies.
Wow. Wow.
Right.
All right. Well, I didn't either. So
We can't share them this way anyway.
I did want to mention to everybody that, as per usual, it's 12 o'clock here on the Central Coast of California and my internet is choppy. So if I freeze, Beth is here and I will be back. If Beth freezes, I will be here and she will be back. But you know, it's just a fact of the nature. And you know, Beth isn't even here in California with me. So
no, and I mean, it's literally freezing here. I'm on the shore of Lake Erie and I can see ice pretty much all the way out. And it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. So we'll see whether it's just a global time thing as to when the internet decides to be silly, or whether we'll be lucky and everything will be smooth sailing.
Well, I'll be thinking of you. It is not freezing here today.
I'm inside. It's okay.
You're okay. That's good. Yeah. Inside is always good when it's freezing, right? So improving our experiences. You know what? So let's talk about first what some of these experiences might be. Anxiety, depression, I'm trying to find the right word for it because I call it a flat affect, right? Like the inability to find any kind of joy or get any kind of stimuli from anything. You know, you're just kind of, there's nothing is working for me. Nothing is helping. There's, you know, grief, there's loss, there's all kinds of things that prompt us to be in a situation of distress and to then be, you know, looking or seeking some sort of relief. What are some of the things that you see most frequently?
Just in the household, you know, on a daily basis, there is anxiety. I have a teenage daughter. She's got some ups and downs going on, and physical discomfort and some pain. I know there was some real anxiety earlier today. My mother-in-law, my in-laws live with us, and she was off. Her sugar was high, and so there was anxiety there. So you look for ways to help each other to get through that, right?
Yes.
We didn't have any orange juice, so what were we going to do to help with the blood sugar? And having another person, being able to communicate whatever your distress is to another person allows your toolbox to get bigger, because now you have the toolbox that's in your head and the toolbox that's in their head. Earlier today, I was out, I was not here and something happened. And so my stepdaughter called my daughter, who has a bigger toolbox, and she was able to walk her through some steps in order to make her feel at least a little bit more in control. Right. And then, I didn't look at her feet. I didn't see whether or not she has her socks on. But certainly, give me 1 second here. She has these magic socks.
Ooh.
So the 𝘔𝘢𝘴𝘵 are emotion regulation. And I know that when I'm in a mood, those are the ones that I reach for. And I have noticed the last couple of days she's had them on. I didn't look at her feet just now. She wanted a hug, so I gave her a hug. Way better than a brownie.
Yes. Well, I love, okay, so one, I want everybody to take notice because first, Beth just picked up a product that is actually available to everybody that is highly effective for that emotion regulation piece. And so I suggest, just putting a pin in that so that, later on or after, after the end of our episode, you can check it out. You can look it up. Again, I put the link in there already. But you brought up something very interesting and important. You talked about two different people. You talked about two different situations, and yet, I can see, some overlap, right? So you have the physical and the emotional. And so when our blood sugar is off, it can very much be anxiety inducing, but that's from a physical space. Right. And then the anxiety that we feel when it's emotional, right, is completely different. And we need to either way have the capability of sitting in and moving through and being able to break it down and identify exactly what it is. And so sometimes we don't have another person, or, we need to seek another person out, or we need to have a toolbox ready at all times. So, my favorite one, and, I was going to save this one for last, but my favorite tactic to utilize is the cost versus benefit, pro versus con, whatever, however you need to break it down. Like right here, right now, this is what I'm experiencing it. What is contributing to it? What is bringing it on? What's driving it? And what's the cost versus benefit of holding on to it or not doing anything, or, just sitting here, or, reaching for the brownies or whatever that might be. So if we're sitting there and we can say, I'm feeling off, I'm feeling shaky, I'm feeling anxious, I'm going to check my blood sugar, right? Because it's feeling physical. Or, I'm feeling anxious and I'm doing, a room scan or, something else. And again, I'll go through some of these checklists, checkpoints on the list of things that we can do to even get it to a space where we can take action when we're trying to experience things better. But, so it's important that we know, is this physical or is it emotional? Is it mental? Because a lot of times it's just what we're allowing ourselves to think. If we're future tripping about what may or may not happen in the future, right? Like we can control that because we can change our thoughts. But if our anxiety, because I suffered with generalized anxiety disorder, like it would come on, it was very physical and it wasn't always necessarily driven by something, but then would prompt all the emotional things after. Because as soon as it would start, then I would, start to get uneasy and just start, attaching it to all the other things. So once I realized that it was kind of something physically, right, organically existing in my body, I could then care for it effectively. But I always have to be able to break it down. Sometimes it's, I haven't brushed my teeth soon enough after drinking coffee. Like it's literally that specific, but I have gotten that specific with knowing my body with regard to anxiety. Because sometimes that anxiety, that irritation, that whatever is generated from a lack of nutrition. Sometimes it's the fear of something new, the fear of change, right? So it can be so many different things. And instead of just blanketly broad brushing it and say, I'm having anxiety, let's find out, well, what type of anxiety? Let's find out, what category of anxiety, physical, emotional, mental, whatever, situational, environmental, what is it? Like we got to get that specific. But sometimes, and this, I'm gonna bring it right back to you. So sometimes what I know to be true is that it is so heightened, especially when we're new at trying to sit in and move through it, especially when it's new, especially when we're, say, new in recovery from alcohol, opiates, right? There's a lot of anxiety that happens in that detoxification and early recovery process. So we haven't accumulated the tools, we haven't conditioned the tools, we haven't done all of the identifications. Like that stuff takes time, right? So what I do with my clients, it takes time. It's a journey, it's a process, it's conditioning. But what you bring to the table, I love, because now we can slap on a pair of socks and we can get relief so that we can even focus on what we need to be doing in our journey work, in accumulating those skill sets and tactics, in all these things. Sometimes it's just too hard.
Exactly. And there is one other thing that you can pair with that because what's happening in that heightened state is this wonderful part of your brain called the amygdala.
I love this part.
And the amygdala is going, right? And so I have something that settles down the amygdala. Now, this is not mine, but this is an example. So, and it doesn't have that dip in it. It's just that the cardboard is still in it. There we go. So it's a sleeve and it goes on your dominant arm and I took mine off when I went swimming and then I didn't put it back on because this shirt is too tight over top of it. Anyway, the pattern that's in it works with the receptors on your skin to work with the cognitive portion of your brain. So it calms that amygdala and you're able to think more clearly. So, I mean, if you are in that kind of state and you can think, oh my God, where's my sleeve? And find it, that will help to bring you down. If you're already wearing the sleeve because you've learned that it keeps you on a slow, better level, you're able to catch those signs and signals, right? And you're able to act on them before the amygdala goes nuts. Because you can think it through.
Can't even say how much I truly, I mean, I do. I love this because of the people that I work with. I mean, not all of them, but, a large portion of them. Again, early recovery isn't easy. If we are, say, weaning and tapering off of pain medication that we've had to be on for, a significant or even not a significant period of time, but just a period of time where, it's uncomfortable to abruptly stop, or it's not safe for us to abruptly stop, especially with people that are recovering from benzodiazepines, right? So those anxiety prescriptions. That is that's a really tough, right?
Yeah, that's a slow thing.
Right. And then alcohol also brings in that piece of anxiety when we're in early, again, detoxification, but also through that, first 30, 60, 90 days, depending upon your level of severity, is our body's going to be craving all of that sugar. There's going to be all kinds of healing going on, and there's just going to be all kinds of imbalances. And you're trying desperately to go, I want to learn how to be in recovery, but my body is doing all of these crazy haywire things. So if we can, and think about this, guys, with the super open mind, right? Like, we are all saying we want to be more sober conscious. We want to be in a state of harm reduction. We want to be, actively pursuing abstinence, whatever level it is that you're seeking. It's still a journey and there's still going to be discomfort. And so if you're experiencing these things and emotion regulation is extremely difficult for you, and you're, getting even more frustrated because you can't keep your focus and you can't get to any kind of an answer. And when you do, you can't seem to figure out how to make it start. Like, let's use something that has scientifically proven to be effective. And there's tons of testimony, right? There's tons of testimony, but let's try something. Like, we have to try things and find what's going to work for us. And so you got the sock, you got the sleeve.
Yeah. And that the beauty is that it's drug free. So especially if you are on a mission to get rid of any kind of chemical to your body, right? Particularly if you're in recovery from this. There are other socks or patches too that work on the pain management. Now, I mean, this is not a magic wand. Understand that there is still going to be discomfort. There's still going to be difficult. I'm not waving a magic wand and saying, poof, you're miraculously healthy, happy, wealthy, and wise, right? I wish I had that, right?
Me too.
But it's a tool in your toolbox that will help to knock that down. And it certainly has helped me. I've had some ongoing pain. I broke my leg in December, and I've managed to use very little in terms of chemical pain management. It's all been within the technology. So the patterns, the tactile tactics, I love the way we say that. The tactile tactics, just do it. And it's a part of my toolbox. Is it the only thing in my toolbox? No. And I'll tell you, and Tricia, you'll probably completely agree with me, that you can build a house with a hammer, but you can't build a house with just a hammer.
No.
Right?
I like that. That's a new one for me, and I think I really like it. I might have to borrow it.
You're welcome to borrow
Because
it.
it's true. So again, we're not saying, oh, do this, now you don't have to go through, the cognitive training. We still need those cognitive skill sets and tools. We
Absolutely.
still need the mindfulness-based activities. We still need emotional intelligence. We still need, for recovery, and I get it. Emotional intelligence applies to a lot of different aspects of life, but there is a specific set of things that we need that create emotional intelligence for us on a recovery journey. And generally they will also support just regular life also. But, if we're really looking at, building a system that is going to work effectively for us. So if we're starting and we're up here and we're trying to get down here, utilizing something that's going to help us come at least to here so that we slow down the brain. Because I think it's the overthinking, the mental reels, the premonitions, the rehearsals, all the things that go on in our head that really create a lot of distress for us. Because then it just consumes us. And then we start talking to ourselves about how we don't feel valid, how we feel dismissed, how we feel, whatever, right? Like there's a laundry list of examples there that go along with it. So if we can slow the brain down by just having something resting on our arm or on our feet or both.
Absolutely.
Wait, toss a patch on there too if it's real bad, right? Like boom, layer up.
I don't have my sleeve on, but I normally have 3 different technologies on all the time.
Right.
And if it's one of those days, I'll put on one Boomy sock and one of my human performance technology socks. And then I've got the pain management on one foot and the emotion management on the other foot. I got the sleeve that's got the anxiety and the cognition and the focus under control. And then I've got another patch for my immune and I'm good to go.
Which now brings me to this, for all of my clients that are listening, and if you aren't listening live, you'll be listening later. But you know, this is to say you can, with everything that Beth has on her site, right? That she's experienced or witnessed or studied or learned about with regard to this scientific technology. It's, you get to add, edit, delete, change, shift, morph it to fit you. She just talked about mixing and matching socks with, you know, a patch and a this to make sure that she's getting attention from her system for her physical body, what it needs, so that she can continue living in the fashion that she desires, or as close to it as she can get, right? Is that accurate? So
that's it, exactly.
We're always looking for that ability to add, edit, delete anything, right? Because there's no one size fits all in life. And so, you know, having that capability of saying, you know what, it works well, right? It works well to mesh it up, right? Smoosh it up, you know, but you have to be willing to what? You've got to ask yourself the questions like, what is truly going on with me today? So the physical pain, how, you know, where is that coming from, right? The physical discomfort, is that coming from anxiety, or is it coming from the physical discomfort? Because sometimes the physical discomfort can feel like anxiety, but if we put on the pain one, it might take care of everything.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to ask yourself the questions, how to systematically break it down, or we broad brush, and broad brushing doesn't work. We have to know our categories. We have to know what is going on, what is driving it, why it's, you know, why is this an issue, and how can I correct it? And so
more control that way.
Yeah. Because I mean, so if you have a situation, and this is the full situation, and you go, oh, I got to fix this situation, wouldn't it behoove you to look at one piece of it at a time? Like I can palette this. I can handle, you know, taking care of, you know, step number one. And then when that's done, you know, and then I don't have to feel overwhelmed by the voluminous amount of things that entail me completing what this whole thing is, whatever this whole thing is. You know, we don't, you know, I had a client one time also, and this is a little bit different of a topic, but, you know, she would come to me, and for a significant period of time, it was always, you know, a deep sadness, an emptiness, a yearning, a longing. And it would be, you know, I've always been the black sheep of my family, and I just never feel like I belong anywhere. I don't fit in. And I watched this unfold in, you know, 3 different jobs, right? Start, oh, yay. And then all of a sudden that old language would come in, and suddenly she'd feel like, you know, the outcast. And I watched it happen 3 times. And I watched it happen in a couple of romantic relationships, and I watched it kind of bounce around inside of her family life. And I was like, okay, let's break this down, because you're saying to me, you have these feelings across the board. So we broke it down, and we, you know, really went through systematically. Anyway, by the time we got done going through all of her categories, people, places, things, it really rested 100% in her relationship with one person.
Wow.
And so suddenly we were able to not have those feelings broad brushed across my entire life. And it made it super easy to correct or start working on that relationship. But because we identified that it wasn't everybody, all of those relationships started to improve. I'm able to keep a job. I'm able to not take some things so personally, you know, and go, you know, slip into some space into my head that really has no business being in my professional life. I'm able to have a romantic relationship without, you know, bringing in this baggage. But I'm also able to have healthy relationships with every other single person in my family unit while I'm working on this one relationship. It's just one thing. And it was so pivotal in her life. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. And well, I mean, I liken your little pad of sticky notes to an elephant, right? The only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And, I mean, depending on where you're at, the thing might spoil before you get to the end of it, in which case I add that eating an elephant always works better with friends. And whether that's your counselor or your doctor or your friends, or you're having a big party and you got the elephant, and those big things are always easier when you look at them in smaller pieces.
I love that you brought that up, because I was I'm always doing continuing education. I alternate. Last year I was doing all of my counseling, continuing education. This year it's all about all my coaching, continuing education. So anyway, I was listening to some continuing education today, and we were talking about and I'm super passionate about always creating that collaborative team, and who do we need, who do we not need, because I do also know that there are a lot of clients that will pile practitioners on, and then be so overloaded with work, personal work, that it gets impossible to really know what to do. But if we've got severe trauma, and trauma is slow and putsy, we all know that. So if we have severe trauma and debilitating, again, debilitating anxiety, then we may need that specialist that can do, say, EMDR with us, and again, something like that, right? So we have that provider, and that person is there to help us, in bite-sized pieces, swallow it or discard it or whatever we need to do with it. But because it is such a slow, putsy experience, when we're in an addiction or a recovery space like that, we also need to find the wherewithal to live in the today going forward, right? We have to be in now going forward, or we're going to wake up 2 years from now and nothing's going to change except for maybe we're dry, right? I'm not drinking, I put it down, but my life hasn't improved in any way, shape, or form, because I've been in trauma therapy for 2 years. And I'm not knocking it, because I think it's great. But in the meantime, while that 2 years of trauma therapy is going on, let's live in the now going forward. And so this is how we build a team. And then we have people like yourself, Beth, that come along and say, look, I have something that's going to help you in the in-between times, that's going to help slow your brain down so that you can actually focus and formulate a thought, right? It's going to slow this all down. And now you go, okay, cool, I've got this team. And, and you never know, you may want to do something else. You may want to do it. I don't know. I like it when people get to a certain space. We have to always have good conversation about when is it time, depending upon your level of severity, again, in a recovery journey, but maybe a functional medicine detox, where you clean out your system and get rid of all the garbage you've been putting in over the years, because that's going to give you even more mental clarity. So now we've slowed it down. Now we're going to clear it out.
Yep.
We're still working on the trauma, but we're also going forward. We're living in the now. And I mean,
the movement piece is huge too, yes. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have my little, I should call it little, but my partners in movement, right? Like just motivating each other to, get up and move, right? Stimulate some dopamine, keep things going, yada, yada, especially in recovery, right? Like we've been artificially inseminating
Picking it.
ourselves with
Sure.
dopamine and serotonin
Yeah.
that now our
Yeah,
body
yeah.
doesn't even remember how to produce it. So we have to retrain it, how to
Exactly.
produce it.
Exactly.
And that takes motion. You can't sit still for 2 years and wait. Like, let's
No.
get it going, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Huskies are good for that.
What's that?
I said huskies are good for that.
Yes.
Mine was a runner and would escape on a regular basis. She's doing much better now. And with the broken leg, I had to hire a dog walker. But so she's waiting for mommy to be able to take her. But
Our husky used to be
Yeah,
an
just
escape
running.
artist too. Yeah.
Yeah.
One time he was gone
that
for a
brings
whole
up
week.
anxiety on a whole different level.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Dogs, we gotta love them.
We
You
do.
know. Yeah. Oh,
I do.
I wouldn't know where I'd be without them. So because we're in about our last 10 minutes here, so I want to make sure to be mindful of everybody's time. I wanted to, I just lost what I was gonna say, but okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, so we've talked about how we want to have these teams, these providers, but how do you know who you need to know, right? And so if you reach out to somebody like Beth or myself, we have connections, right? I try to make them all available for everybody on the site, for all of the clients, right? The people that are enrolled generally have access to all of it, but if you need to know, like, reach out and ask. Like, you can get in touch with Beth and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. She might say, you know what, let's get you this, this, and this. And then I'm going to connect you with this person and that person, because those two things are especially, you get to choose, it's because we take the time to vet each other out. We don't recommend each other because we don't believe in what each other is doing,
Right.
and that we don't see the value and the validity in it, right? So I wanted to bring up just a couple more things that people can also do, just to give them some tangible right here, right now, because the cost versus benefit, and that breaking it down into categories and all that, that's a pretty labor intensive, that almost takes training to know how to do it. So, I wanted to bring up a couple of these other things, right? Improve the moment, one thing in the moment. Love this one.
Yeah.
Because it is literally saying exactly what we were talking about with this, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter. So what is that distressing situation or a crisis? And I'm going to look at only it, and I'm going to do what I'm going to, my goal or my focus is going to be to settle down and calm it down so that my suffering can be greatly reduced, right? So if I'm only focused, like, I'm not going to focus on anything else. Like, and if it's big, if it's a big situation, a big distressing situation, or a big crisis, how can I, again, break it down? What's one thing I can do right now that's going to be productive or proactive? So, you get in a car accident, right? That's a crisis, but you can't do everything, right? I'm going to call 911. Then I'm going to scan my body, right? Then I'm going to, maybe check out my passengers. Maybe then I'm going to get out of the car and look at the other vehicle, right? Like, one thing in the moment, right? And this goes across the board. You can do this with just about anything. Other awareness exercises that you can pick up along the way are those that allow you to get in touch. Like I was talking about, this one's a little bit, again, more involved. So I'm going to kind of just go over it, but the ones that get you in touch with the current discomfort or the anxiety, allow you to refocus and let it go. So again, that one's a little bit more in depth. Again, it has to be, some exercises, but breathing awareness, this one, we can have, if you can look up several, right? But if you do the 3, 3, and 3, 3, 3, and 3, right? breathe in for 3, hold it for 3, and
Hold
exhale
for
for 3. That one's super easy. Keep that one in your back pocket because that's gonna, start shifting things. But make sure you're doing it from an abdominal breathing, right? Because that deep breath is really going to, start to create healing of the situation. Again, I already talked about body scanning, or I mentioned it when we're talking about the crisis, but we want to do body scanning. What's creating the tension? What can I maybe do to change it? If you notice you're like this, so you want to be scanning your body. I do it all the time, frequently, because I do it just even to make sure I'm not, sitting like this, right? Like pay attention, get connected with your body, and that's going to always help you be on top of what you need when you need it. Everyday awareness. This is going to be something where if you are willing to verbalize your appreciation for things as your day goes on, and I talk about this a lot in Strengthening Your Resilience, Life Unfolding, but gratitude is a big deal. So I always start with gratitude. Sure, you need an everyday awareness of those things that instigate stress, irritation, agitation, frustration. But if you start with a focus on all of the things that you have appreciation for, and you're vocalizing it, and you're verbalizing it, even if it's just to yourself, looking in the mirror, like that is going to raise your vibration immensely. And that makes those other things seem smaller. You can use awareness of sound activities, right? Sit, get real still and listen for if you can hear the air, right? Like, is there a breeze? Like, really get in touch with what's going on in your environment. What's the sounds? What's really happening? Because if you can hear water in the background and you can sit still and really connect to just the sound of it, you're going to be innately relaxing your entire body. Another thing I like to do is meditation with food. And what that means is, being very, very specific, very purposeful, very productive in everything that you do. And this does help a lot with overindulgence, because now I'm going to really be sitting right with what it is. When I'm picking up something out of the refrigerator, I'm going to pay attention to the textures. What does it feel like? Does it have a smell? Is it what I want? Is it going to go with this next piece of whatever it is that I'm pulling out? Like, instead of going, ooh, I want this, and ooh, this sounds good, and I'm going to pile all this stuff on this big sandwich. Make sure to spend time with each ingredient. Know what it's going to feel like. What's the texture? What's the smell? What's the taste? What's the texture? How does it feel when you swallow, right? And so you want to spend time in even cultivating what it is you're going to be putting in. But then when you sit down, as you're cooking it, you want to spend time with the aroma. Anyway, you guys get the gist. Absolutely.
Making me hungry.
I know, but it, and it doesn't sound, like it would be something that would help somebody that has a tendency to overindulge or has food addiction, but it really does, because it forces you to stop and think about, why am I grabbing the bag of chips? Right? Sure, I'm hungry and I need something fast, but why am I grabbing the bag of chips? Chemicals. It's all packed full of chemicals that our body is trained to seek. Doritos are literally made so that you can't eat one. Just don't ever have one. Like, just no, right? Like, it's true. McDonald's puts sugar in their hamburgers. Like, seriously, I mean, there's marketing and science that goes on to making brands what they are.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't believe me, reach out. I'll send you the information. But literally, so, the more we can slow down our choosing process, the more we can slow down our ingesting process, the preparation process, right? So sure, we all have the need. Like, I just had an energy bar, but it was all natural ingredients. No, I didn't make this one myself. But they are high quality, low sugar, all natural ingredients, no man-made crap, right? So we all need to have those things ready or available, because life is life. And so I'm not like trying to say that, but anyway, I don't want to get off on that either, because yeah. So look at the skill sets and tactics that you can have. And so I'm here to say all of these things that I'm suggesting to you, again, they are practices. They are things that we have to cultivate. We have to seek. We have to learn. We have to practice. And then we have to condition them as a way of being. So in the interim, order yourself some socks, a sleeve, and a patch, so that you can be at least in a better state while you're learning. Nobody's saying you got to wear them for the rest of your life. You may want to, but nobody's saying you have to. But let's be productive and proactive and in a persistent pursuit to improve our lives. And let's be willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. I'm going to let Beth say goodbye because we need to go.
I love that persistent pursuit. I'm just writing it down.
Oh, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's our life. It gets to look, feel, and be however we want it to, but we have to make it happen. Sure,
Yeah.
having a coach is very, very useful. It's very beneficial, because then you have somebody there to support and guide you, but you still got to do the work. Nobody can do it for you.
Nobody can do it for you. You can't, and you can have a coach and say, I've got a coach that's helping me through this, but it's still sitting on the shelf. And you're not
Thank
really
you.
doing
I've got a couple of those
the
right now.
work, right? Because you're just, my coach is helping me, but the coach can tell you what to do. If you don't actually do the homework and do the work, it's still going to sit on the shelf. And as long as you ignore it on the shelf, it's not going anywhere.
For being the one to
You're going
say
to
that.
get tripped up somewhere else.
Thank you for being the one to say that. Like, I so appreciate it, because I think they're tired of hearing it from me, but I got a few people that needed to hear that, right? Like, I can't do
Well,
it for you.
I just said it an hour ago to somebody else.
Right. Another good reason why we like to work together.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well,
So
and
everybody,
once you've gone through it and you've learned that, then you can tell other people. But the thing is that nobody wants to deal with the thing on the shelf. It's not fun dealing with the thing on the shelf. But in order to move forward, you have to. And there is greener grass on the other side of the thing on the shelf.
absolutely.
There you go.
What a perfect closing. Don't go away. We're going to wave. Okay, everybody, we're going to see you next week. Thank you so much for being here. Again, Beth's link is below in the description. Feel free, poke around. I'll also put the link to the main page so that you can poke around and see if there's, maybe you want to do a whole health survey and take a look at some things that you want to do. So I will go ahead and drop that in the comments, but you'll be able to reach either one of us. So Beth's is already in the description here below, but also the link to TLR's page where you can check some things out is going to be in the comments. Beth, thank you so much for being here. Don't hang up just yet. I'm going to go ahead and end the live. We'll see you guys next week. Don't hesitate to ask questions. We don't mind answering.
We love answering questions.
Yes. All day long.
Absolutely.
All righty.
There we go.